DVC Vikings Coach's Corner. And now your host, Anthony Perry.
What is going on, guys? It is Anthony Perry, and I'm back with another edition of the Coach's Corner featured by Brandon Bailey once again. Brandon, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. I can't complain. So we're going to get right down to the softball games, man. Obviously, let's get the first one out of the way. The first one was pretty brutal. 4 errors, a couple runs scored against 9. When you have that many errors committed, does that change your defensive philosophy, or is that something that you feel you just got to coach around?
Well, you have to understand, we're only we're 10 games. We played 10 or 11 or whatnot. So we're still trying to figure it out. Normally in a regular season, we'd have our 10 fall games to kind of figure things out. And then we have some non-traditional games before we actually start our league to figure it out. So we'd have quite a few games to figure things out. So right now, jumping in it, it's kind of, we're simulating that time period where we're kind of figuring out who can do what and play where still, as the stresses of the game come out and they get to experience that. So, it definitely changed my defense the second game, but, normally, you would kind of let things ride out a little bit, as I did the first game into the second game, but the second game was a good opportunity to kind of switch things up a little bit, given how many errors we did have and runs we gave up, for in that game. So.
Yeah, one thing I kind of liked observing the team because, scorekeeping. One thing to observe that I really liked was that the girls were always picking each other up after errors. And that should be a given in any team sport, but I felt the girls really picked each other up and really stayed on top of each other without being demoralizing or really just kind of low energy, negativity, that kind of thing when some teams tend to make mistakes. Is that something that you feel is reflective of your coaching, that your team's cohesion is just really strong?
Yeah, that's number one, honestly, number 1 or 2 on the list as far as, what we look for in our players on our team is to be supportive, because it's not always going to go your way. Game of failure, everyone knows that. You fail more than you succeed. So you have to be strong mentally, and sometimes maybe someone's not that day, but the other team, our team usually picks them up and the next person up, if you will, and kind of mentality. So, definitely they did a great job at kind of sticking it out. Understanding too, when we have double headers, we may have a bad game, bad start, the game's never over. And then if we do lose, we have another game coming up right next. So it's time to turn the page, and kind of stay positive and move forward on and start thinking about that one as soon as the first one ends.
And I got to bring it up just because, it's a part of the game. But when you get a warning from the umpire after arguing a call, which from my perspective, I really thought the player was safe because she got under the tag. And when you get a warning from an umpire like that, how does that change the way you approach talking about the game towards the field, yelling, things like that? Does that change anything, or do you still kind of focus on what you want to do?
First off, I wasn't arguing out like if she was out or not. It was an obstruction call that they missed, but neither here or there. But as you get a warning, you kind of, you still focus on the game. The way I coach anyways is pretty straightforward. We stay involved with what we're trying to do, try not to focus on, the umpires or whatnot. So, you really have to kind of be a little bit more on your P's and Q's and kind of, make sure things calm down. But, we have a mutual respect, between coaches and umpires. So, things get emotional sometimes, but they never get out of hand. So, there was no real adjustment as far as the way I coach.
Yeah, I figured as much just because from my observations as well. Just looking at your body language and your demeanor, nothing changed. Nothing changed at all. Jumping into the second game, I got to ask right now, does Jalea always look mean when she's pitching? She's got the nastiest face on the mound. I love it personally.
Yeah, that's something that she had to develop, and we kind of had to put in our heads from last year, not to you have to have a presence. You have to have your body language is huge, especially being a pitcher. You're leader of the pack. So while you're out there, and everyone's looking at you, including the other team. So if you come out there and you intimidate, that's definitely going to resonate within each hitter. They're gonna it's something else to think about, but also it just gets her in the mindset to go after it. Get out there and pitch. She's competing. It's a battle. We're in a war out there. So it definitely shows on her face that she's ready to go and she's ready to do some damage there. So. It's funny. I got asked that too because I give pitching signs, and players are like, "Do you get intimidated by the way she looks at?" I'm like, she's not looking at me, like that way. She's just out there, in her mindset, in her mentality, ready to go and compete. So,
So I gotta ask you, when it comes to winning the game, you said it was the second walk-off win of the season. Do those get stressful? Do you ever feel like those walk-off wins? I mean, it's exciting, don't get me wrong. But when it comes down to a walk-off, it's like, come on, guys, we could have done this sooner.
I mean, I think about that beforehand, but we could have done it sooner. We had opportunities, but that's what you want. I mean, that's what you play the game for right there. I mean, what better, crunch time situation, stressful, for the player with the most possibility for success. I mean, it's just like, for me, it's a win-win, that competitive situation. And that's what we talk about. This is what we want. Like we get there, we forget about the whole game, all the innings before. We're there where we want to be, to win the game. Ultimately, that's all we're asking for is to get us in a situation like that. And what better? We're at home, tie ball game, or we're down by one. So it was a little bit extra stressful. But, they kind of just took it and ran with it. We definitely stayed aggressive and stressful. I'm always stressed when I'm out there. So coach is never not stressed. Definitely, kind of hold it in. But, those moments they're fun. They really are fun to see, what they're going to do if they're going to come through and succeed. So
Kind of getting into the technical aspect of pitching, because to me, I've never really taken the time to observe softball pitching except for being as close as I am now. When you're calling out the numbers and signs, are you going off of history in terms of the batter, or are you kind of going off of what you think is kind of beneficial towards the way your defense is aligned?
I mean, well, for me personally, I mean, it's a lot of it's instinctual. I used to play
Yeah.
baseball. I caught for like 13 years, so I know how to call a game. I know how to read hitters. I know how to read swings, and I definitely log away previous at bats. Like it's just second nature. So for me, it's that's pretty much what it's based off of. Every once in a while, I'll check and see, on our stats, where the hitter did last time or whatnot. But for the most part, it's just instinctual. You have to be able to adjust pitch to pitch, and I kind of think that and put it in our pitchers' heads as well, and they buy into it. They throw whatever we ask, fully trust in it. So, and definitely, that process works. So,
Does calling pitches based on a hitter who primarily bunts a lot compared to a hitter who's just swinging, does that change the calls quite a bit, or do you still kind of go off of what you're feeling?
well, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to give away our secrets,
Yeah, yeah,
so we're pitching to different hitters, but I think every coach has their own way, and it comes down to just reading the hitter, strong hitter, weak hitter. You definitely just try to drill in their weaknesses that you see and trust in that. So as far as bunters and hitters, I mean, you're trying to pitch to placement, so to where you want them to bunt the ball into the defense. That's pretty much what you do when you know it's coming. So as far as philosophy, I mean, that's pretty much kind of to keep it simple, kind of like that. But there's differences, like you said. It's just you know hitter to hitter.
yeah, it's what you're feeling. Last question here, Brandon. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah.
One thing I've really noticed is whenever I have been to softball games, it's a lot of chants from the opposing team. And I mean, when you're hearing all the chants and stuff, it's really cool in a sense. But I also think when I observe your guys' team, there's not as many chants, but the players are still rallying. Is that kind of a philosophical thing, or do you think the players just would rather cheer for the player rather than making up chants?
Well, I mean, I'm for all the chants. I'm not, not for it.
Mm.
It's good to hear. It's part of the game. You know, I don't think our team is like that. Our culture, like they kind
Yeah,
of take after the coaches in a way, and we talk about that, energy and staying positive and everything. I think it's just they feel like it's better suited towards our own players, not like the rah-rah, which is fine. I mean, you see it everywhere. You see it in four-year schools, all on TV, ESPN, and that's great. But to me personally, I think it takes away from the focus sometimes. Like it kind of gets out of hand, and I just think it's more like, oh well, Stanford does it, or Oregon State does it, so let's do this. You know what I mean? So I kind of, it's open. They're open to do whatever they want to do. They want to cheer. They want to do whatever. It's just what they decide to do. As long as they're being, sending that energy towards our players and not towards the other team and all that, it's great. That's one thing that I will not. I like about our team is they will not take any energy away from our team to the other team, like some teams do. So, that's great.
I will say that in the walk-off win, hearing those chants die down pretty fast was very satisfying. To say the least, it was really satisfying.
Honestly, yeah, that was the goal. That was one of those things in the back of their head that, every time we would meet, like, you know what, you're tired of hearing it, do something about it. You're tired of hearing it. I guarantee you do something, it'll calm down, if you do something about it. So they kind of brought it up at the end of the game, and it's kind of like a little, funny thing, but, I'm glad they came through with the win. So
Brandon, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you doing Coach's Corner with me, and we'll be back again. I'll be talking to you again.
All right. Thanks, Anthony.
Have a good one, Brandon.
You too.